what we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Victor Wembanyama-less San Antonio Spurs. And you know what? I don't care right now. We need every potential advantage that we can get right now as a team. And guess what? The Cavaliers got a big win tonight, a win that was not only good for the vibes of the fan base and the team, but was probably just good to get back into the win column itself. Just get back to winning basketball. As I mentioned in the last stream, I don't care right now about playoff basketball. I don't care right now about title contention. Just get back to winning basketball. And tonight felt like a major step in the right direction for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Now, a couple of quick house cleaning things. Number one, the Cavs started both Nae'Qwan Tomlin and Jaylen Tyson tonight in place of Darius, Garland, and Jarrett Allen, respectively. And you know what? It worked. It worked wonders, especially with Jaylen Tyson. We're going to talk about him a lot tonight. Those two would connect early for a few high-energy plays, especially that no-look pass in transition to Tyson out there from Tomlin. But the fun in that first quarter ended really, really quickly as the Cavs picked up a number of early calls that put San Antonio into the bonus just 5 fucking minutes into the game. That was a bad thing considering they only had 11 players available tonight. And as a general reminder, in case you've been living under a rock or something, the injury report tonight read Darius, Garland, Max Strus, Jarrett Allen, Sam Merrill, Larry Nance Jr., and Tyrese Proctor for personal reasons. Combine that with the Cavs' general inability to knock down the perimeter shot, at least in the early going, or pull down rebounds into the latter point. The Spurs they had managed to score 13 second chance points in the first quarter alone. I was ready to pull my hair out with each and every opportunity that they got. But to be fair, the Cavs did, in fact, keep pace with them despite that. It just goes to show, especially with this many injuries, when you're dealing with this much lineup inconsistency, how small your margins for error are. And the Spurs would end up winning that first quarter 35-30. And the Cavaliers, one thing that was really apparent to me was that if they were going to win this game, they needed to step up on the glass. They did that. We'll talk about that later on. And in the Spurs possessions, no more of that 2 to 3 opportunities on singular possessions bullshit that we've been seeing night in and night out that this team has just been letting teams get away with. They were also being manhandled off the dribble in the early going as well. That said, Donovan Mitchell began the second with his patented move and immediately followed that up with a beautiful dump-off pass to Evan Mobley for a dunk right at the rim. And he came right back down the court after a nice defensive stand by Craig Porter Jr. and the Cavs and got into the interior once more, he being Mobley. But as soon as Cleveland started to get a little motion out there, San Antonio quickly stymied all momentum with back-to-back triples, one of which came as a direct result of a maddeningly blown or missed call by the refs when Donovan Mitchell was clearly slapped on the wrist as he was going up for a shot, which was just frankly bullshit. Just some fucking bullshit that the refs were on in this one, especially in that first half. But luckily for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Luke Travers was ready. Obviously, I'm joking, but seriously, as soon as Luke entered the game, some good shit started to happen out there. I don't know if I'm the only person that noticed that, but some good shit happened as he brought the ball up the floor, immediately got it to Donovan, who found a cutting Evan Mobley, which is the type of stuff you love to see because Donovan has kind of drawn these like he's a bad point guard type of comment to begin this season because he's been forced into that role with Darius Garland missing most of the season and with Lonzo being a little inconsistent in regard to pick and rolls. And there's just so much out there that Donovan has taken a lot of flack for, but he was making some quality feeds. And that one really stuck out to me in the first half. But man, the dribble penetration that was being allowed by the Cavs tonight, at least in that first half, was horrific at times. I watched De'Aaron Fox split the defenders and drive in for a uncontested look at the rim, which prompted a timeout from a visibly hot Kenny Atkinson, who had already picked up a technical foul at that point on the blown call against Evan Mobley, just a possession earlier. But like I said, luckily, Luke Travers was out there making plays. He had a beautiful feed to Nae'Qwan Tomlin for a dunk off of a dribble drive out there. But San Antonio quickly took charge at that point after a flurry of shots by Devin Vassell, who cooked for most of the first half before having his water turned off in the second, and as they took a 72-64 lead into the half. But then at that point, Cleveland decided they had had enough. They switched things up a bit, and that began with Kenny Atkinson replacing Nae'Qwan Tomlin with Dean Wade in the starting lineup, which coincided with the biggest Cavs run of the night up to that point and their biggest lead. But it wasn't really Dean Wade. And don't get me wrong, Dean Wade really, really was impactful in this one. He was impactful. I don't want to undersell the value of what Dean Wade brought to the table, especially in that second half. His presence was almost key in them doing what they did out there. As he would score 12 points, pull down 8 rebounds, and dole out 5 assists, believe it or not, along with 1 steal, while going 4 or 6 from the field, including 2 of 4 from deep, and knock down both of his free throw attempts. But it wasn't Dean Wade. It was Jaylen Tyson that was the star of the show. He was absolutely insane in that third quarter. Insane. This dude just could not miss out there. Drive after drive, shot attempt after shot attempt. It was just beautiful to watch this play out as Jaylen Tyson would just obliterate the San Antonio Spurs as a one-man wrecking crew in that third quarter. He was pivotal to pulling the Cavaliers ahead. But I don't know, man. I'm just at a point with Tyson right now where I'm ready to start him full time. Listen, I don't really give a fuck about the people who think that Darius Garland should be benched when he returns to full strength for the likes of Jaylen Tyson. That's not where I believe he should start at. I'm starting his ass at the 3. My starting lineup, when everybody's healthy, is Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Tyson at the 3. And listen, I get it. Tyson is great at the 2, but I think Darius, when he's rolling, when he's on, he's one of the best orchestrators of the game of basketball that we have in this league. Obviously, he's been dealing with the toe injury. That's probably going to be a lingering thing this year, but there's no way in fucking hell that I'm benching Darius Garland for the likes of Jaylen Tyson. I think I start Tyson at the 3. I put Hunter on the bench, get that shot creation out there that this bench is missing at times. And I think you get the best of both worlds with that, because Tyson has shown he doesn't need the fucking ball in his hands to be impactful. He is a catch and shoot maestro. He is somebody that's going to play hard defensively, doesn't have a high utilization rate, and won't complain about his shot attempts. He's just going to go out there, do his role, play his role, and not complain about it. And that's what you need out of that third, out of the starter at the 3, the quote unquote 5th starter, unless you want to consider Jarrett Allen the 5th starter when he's healthy. But point remains, Jaylen Tyson is a starter in this league. He is a starter in this league and looks like hands down one of the best value picks of his respective draft and of the Kobe Altman area, being picked 20th overall and turning into a 3-and-D wing out there in the span of 2 seasons, really not even 2, maybe 1.5 at this point, 1.25, because he didn't really get a lot of opportunities last year. He has grown tremendously as a player since then. His confidence has skyrocketed into the stratosphere, and you can clearly see the fruits of the labor paying off. The belief in Tyson is there. We all see it. The coaches see it. The players see it. It's clear. Tyson is somebody that could be a real difference maker come the playoffs. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm telling you, this dude is a potential diamond in the rough, being one of the best picks where he was selected in terms of a value standpoint. Tyson's stat line on the night, according to NBA.com, reads 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. I'm not sure how accurate that is. NBA.com kind of gets things wrong at times in terms of overall stat lines, but I think that's correct. 24 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks out there. One of them was really, really beautiful. 11 of 15 from the field. You heard that right. This motherfucker was 11 of 15 from the field, including 2 of 4 from distance. At one point, he was like 10 of 11 from the field. And I'm like, is this dude going to miss again? Like, is he incapable of missing? Is that a part of his game? I don't know. All I'm going to say is that Jaylen Tyson looks like a potential steal from what I've seen from him. He looks like somebody that I would start at the 3. I think that, to me, this is a starter in this league. I don't want to make this all about Jaylen Tyson, but fuck it. That's what it feels like tonight. And this is coming in a game in which Donovan Spider Mitchell almost gets 30 himself, 28, 8 big dimes. So anybody out there that thinks Donovan Mitchell is incapable of playing the point guard position, fuck you. That's not true. Donovan can do it. He can make those passes. And I know it's not as often as we like it to, but Donovan, when he actually wants to, when he doesn't get tunnel vision, he can do it. 28 points tonight, 8 assists, 3 steals. Did turn the ball over 5 times, but who gives a fuck? Cavaliers won. 9 of 17 from the field, just 1 of 5 from distance. It was nice to see Donovan Mitchell not have to be totally relied upon for this team to secure a victory. Tyson was right there. Evan Mobley. I know that Tyson is going to get all the love for this game. I know Dean Wade is going to deserve a lot of love for this team, but Evan Mobley had a really nice game tonight. He has played like an all-star as of late. Over these last 5 games, Evan Mobley has honestly gotten back to all-star form. Tonight's stat line will read 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. So he's going to beat the AT&T allegations. But listen, Evan Mobley, when he is locked in, when he is aggressive, when they actually involve him in the fucking offense, Evan Mobley looks like a top 10 player. He looks like the player that we all anticipated him to be coming into this year. I mean, I think that much is clear because, yes, I understand that from an offense perspective, he still has a lot of areas of development, a lot of areas of growth where you want to see improvement in a pinch, obviously, but clearly due to his two-way play out there, because he's still a very dominant defensive player, he is a top 10 player when he is playing the way that he is. Over his last 5 games, Evan Mobley is averaging 20 points, 10.6 rebounds, and fucking 5.2 assists, along with 2.2 blocks, while shooting 53.4% from the field, including 40.9% from three-point distance and 86.7% from the charity stripe, meaning he has been a lot better, a lot more efficient when getting to the line, which had been something that we had all really been pissed off about to open this season. But over these last 5 or so, Mobley has gotten back to that all-star level player that we know he is capable of, the player that earned his way onto the All-NBA second team and to his first career all-star game just last year. This is the Evan Mobley that we like seeing. I still wish at times where the shot attempts would be up, but I don't want him to force it. I don't want the shot selection to be terrible, and I don't want him to be so far out of position because, as noted numerous times this season, like the forced usage rate that Evan Mobley has functioned with this year has come to his detriment at times. As entering tonight, he still has a career high in usage rate at 22.6%, which is in the 83rd percentile among bigs so far. But you can tell at times like where he is getting his shots off from, where he is beginning possessions from when he has the ball in his hands, when he's operating as the on-ball creator that they want him to be. He's not comfortable with that completely. And it shows sometimes in his shot profile. But as of late, as of these last 5, he's gotten back to playing like a big man. He's looking confident. He's rolling to the rim. He's being aggressive in his dribble drives. He is not taking no for an answer in regards to the boards. Again, he is averaging over 10.6 rebounds per game over his last 5 outings. This is what you want to see from him. Absolutely love it. Averaging 2.6 offensive rebounds over that same stretch as well. So he is really becoming more active on that end of the glass as well, which is a nice development for him and for the Cavaliers. So for me, I loved what I saw out of the starters for the most part. Not everybody. I got to talk about the ugly too, or something that I perceive is not so great. We'll get to Nae'Qwan Tomlin in a minute. I want to finish on a good note in regards to the starting lineup. But DeAndre Hunter is somebody that obviously I am a believer in. You can count me among the believers in DeAndre Hunter, but I have not been impressed with what I've seen from DeAndre Hunter as of late. That first half was very indicative of his recent play. Over his last 5 games, to be fair, he is averaging 11.6 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 1.4 assists while shooting just 28% from three-point distance and 44.7% from the field overall. He has scored below 10 points in just one of those games. He's gotten to double figures in 4 out of his last 5. But I think that watching him play at times leaves a lot to be desired. From a defensive standpoint, there's a lot of ball watching that still occurs with DeAndre Hunter, especially in regards to weak side help. There is still opportunities for him from an offensive perspective to be more involved. And I just don't think we get that on a consistent basis from him, which is why I still believe that moving him to the bench at this point is probably what's best for not only the team, but for him, because he gets those additional on-ball reps. Because he can be somebody that can be, I don't want to say frozen out of the offense, but I think that at times, right, you want to be able to get him these opportunities, and due to who he plays with, due to who he's surrounded by, some of that is just not available to him, which makes more sense to me coming off the bench at times. And so while he was not so involved in the offensive flow in the first half, what happened in the second half is that DeAndre Hunter immediately kicked off that third quarter to scoring, right? Getting to the mid-range area, somebody that is fully capable of doing that and knocking down shots. And so for me, I would like to see DeAndre Hunter attack more. I think that in that third quarter, you got a good taste of that. He was 2 of 3 in the third quarter, 66.7% from the field overall in that third frame. And on the night, he would finish with 11 points and 3 boards, a steal, 5 of 9 from the field, including 1 of 4 from deep. Not a terrible night, truly, but I think that he, the way that first half was going, it was, oh man, he was in for a lot of detractors coming out, but he managed to round things out rather nicely in that second half. So good to see that. But I'm starting to believe that his best place is coming off the bench as the Cavaliers super sub, somebody that you can put the ball in his hands and he can function in a role where he is allowed to create off the dribble. And I think that without Ty Jerome on the roster, that's an element that has been missing for much of the season. And I think that is I think that's something that you really want to see from the Cavaliers moving forward, is bench production, because you don't have a lot of bona fide people out there that are going to get you points. I'll tell you what, tonight, something that really was eye-popping was the Cavaliers' lack of an over-reliance on the three-point shot. What have I been saying this entire season? The Cavaliers have a reliance on the three-point shot. Tonight, would you believe that the Cavaliers only took 26 triples? This comes off a game in which they attempted 50 plus. I think the record that they have when shooting 50 or more triples, I know I posted it online. I'm trying to recall it off the top of my mind. I think they're 1-4 when they attempt 50 plus threes. Tonight, they shot 8 of 26 from three-point distance. That is 30.8%. But they were dominant as hell inside of the painted area. On the interior, these dudes scored 80 points. 80 points to San Antonio's 44 is fucking insane to me. And yes, I understand that they don't have Wemby out there, but fuck it, we don't got Jarrett Allen. And honestly, Wemby hasn't been great against the Cavs. There's not really a lot of data to go off. Obviously, this is not a long. It's really not a long history that we can draw data from. But it's not exactly like Wemby was just destroying the Cavaliers. So the Cavaliers got back to their bread and butter, and they antagonized San Antonio on the interior. 80 points in the paint for the Cavs tonight. That is amazing to me. Something else that was also pretty damn cool, that was a nice sight for them, was the fact that they really got to it out in transition, and they scored 24 fast break points as a result of that. And so from a defensive standpoint, I think you got a lot of that off of turnovers that were created out there, as San Antonio turned the ball over 14 times. Cleveland also did as well. Let's not be mistaken. Let's call it spade a spade. But I think they took advantage of that in a good way out there by really moving in fast break, as Cleveland would score 19 huge points off of turnovers tonight compared to San Antonio's 11. So they really made them pay for the turnovers that they had tonight. A real big part of that, obviously, was the perimeter defense out there. I think you saw a number of sequences in which multiple Cavaliers got in on the action. Listen, Lonzo Ball has not had a good tenure with the Cavs so far. It's been very up and down. I've been very candid about my support and love for Lonzo Ball and what he could potentially bring to the table. And to be honest with you, it hasn't been there. There has been some good performances. Don't get me wrong. There has been some, and I've been quick to point those out. And I've also been quick to call Lonzo out when he has a bad game. And I actually just put a piece out there today, talking about how Craig Porter Jr. has actually outplayed him and deserves a larger role. If you haven't checked that out, it's over on Patreon. It's free, so don't worry about that. It's not behind a paywall or anything. It's also up on Twitter, so check that out. It's a really good article. But I think that tonight's performance is really indicative of what he could bring to the table. Coming off a performance in which he was absolutely atrocious. He was just absolutely atrocious because he was showing very little care for shot selection out there. And there's no protecting what Lonzo did in his prior performance against the Portland Trailblazers, in which he shot 1 of 9 from the field, including 1 of 8 from three-point distance. And when he has nights like that, it's hard to really sell the fans on what he can bring to the table. And he turns around and he tones down the three-point shooting as much as the rest of the Cavaliers roster do, or does rather. And he really turns it up in terms of playmaking and rebounding. That was another big one. And on the defensive end, to tie this together with what we're talking about in terms of points off turnovers, Lonzo Ball tonight scored just 2 points, but he did pull down 6 huge rebounds, ending possessions for the likes of the San Antonio Spurs, especially in that third quarter. He doled out 5 assists, and he garnered 3 steals. He only turned the ball over twice tonight. 22 minutes and 27 seconds of action. He took 2 field goal attempts. So when he has performances like tonight, I still have to say I still believe in the ceiling of what he could potentially bring to the table. But I think 2 things can be true. The one thing, let me try and get both my hands framed here. I think it's true that Lonzo Ball has been underwhelming. He has been underwhelming to start the season. He's had some quality plays at times. Some of the outlet passes that he's made has been fucking beautiful. He had a couple of those tonight, wouldn't you believe? And I think one slipped right through Thomas Bryant's hands. I hated to see that, but it looked like a quarterback, getting back, getting ready to, he just launched it out there, hitting outlet passes like he's prime Wes Unseld or Kevin Love. And, he's making defenders pay for that. And when he does stuff like that, it's like, man, this is something we've been missing from this offense. But to me, I think it's perfectly understandable and perfectly possible to say that he has been a little underwhelming and that Craig Porter Jr. has outplayed him. These two things can't be true. But does that mean that both of them can't have their respective roles or that both of them can't bring something different to the table? I don't think it does. I think they can. The problem is that when at full strength, one of them is likely to be pushed out of the rotation. So these opportunities right now are huge because eventually Darius Garland will come back. Eventually Max Strus will come back. Eventually Jarrett Allen will come back. Eventually you will get Sam Merrill back. Larry will come back, but he's probably not going to be in the rotation. I don't know, man, because Nae'Qwan Tomlin's really outplayed him too, at least in the limited opportunities that those two have gotten, right? But it's not written in stone, is what I'm trying to say. So there's a lot of opportunities up for grabs right now. There's roles up for grabs. And I think that Craig Porter Jr., with each and every performance that he has, where he looks like he is outdoing Lonzo at times, that only bolsters his argument to be included in the primary rotation once Darius Garland comes back, because there's only so much guard minutes to go around. The good thing about Lonzo, though, is that he's versatile enough from a positional standpoint to play him 1 through 3. Now, you don't want to play him at the 3 too often, and he hasn't necessarily been great when functioning as the 2 guard, but he does have the size and positional versatility to play 3 positions. He has, believe it or not, entering tonight, played 18% of his minutes at the 3. And the crazy thing is that in lineups where Lonzo is playing the 3, the team actually has a positive point differential of plus 12.8, which is great. They have an offensive rating of 121.2, which is really high, really fucking high when he plays the 3, and a defensive rating of 108.4, which is really good. That's what you want. The lower, the better. And that speaks a lot to his versatility. However, when he's playing the 2, it's been atrocious. They have a point differential of negative 8.1, which is in the 29th percentile. Horrific. Absolutely horrible. However, when he's playing the point, which the craziest thing to me, if you can believe this, entering tonight, Lonzo Ball has only played 25% of his minutes at the point guard. He's only played 25% of his minutes at the 1. However, when he does play there, the Cavaliers have a point differential of plus 11, which is in the 91st percentile. They have a defensive rating of 102.3, which is in the 97th percentile. It's fucking crazy. But the problem is that the offense it's been really bad. It's been really bad. And I think a lot of that, it's not because of the ball movement or anything. It's because Lonzo has failed to knock down shots. If Lonzo was knocking down shots when he's playing minutes at the 1, the Cavaliers would probably be feeling a lot more comfortable about his minutes. And so I say all of this to say that I still think that people have to be patient with Lonzo. I've not checked out on Lonzo at all, contrary to what people might think because of what I've said recently about CPJ. I just think that it's perfectly okay and understandable to see that 2 things can be true. CBJ has looked really good in his role, probably deserves more minutes he's getting, and Lonzo has been underwhelming. But something I did like seeing from Lonzo tonight was the dribble drives. Listen, Lonzo Ball actually had a few dribble drives tonight, which is something that you cannot say for the season as a whole. It's just been really, really bad at points in terms of dribble penetration from Lonzo, because it's not something that he's traditionally done. I say this, I feel like every stream, and I think it comes off as me making excuses for Lonzo, but I'm just pointing out a fact. Lonzo's never truly been a driver of the basketball. Entering tonight, care to take a guess how many drives he has on this season? You're not going to believe it. 35. In 17 games of action prior to tonight, Lonzo Ball drove the ball 35 total times. He's 2 of 7 from the field when he is attempting a field goal off the drives. He has doled out 9 assists, has an assist percentage of 25.7%, and he's only turned the ball over 3 times when he's done it. But the problem is that he's done it so infrequently that it just almost doesn't make a difference. And so when you look at the per game totals and not just the total amount that he has done so, Lonzo has only driven the ball 2.1 times per game entering tonight. But you actually got a few of them tonight that resulted in a lot of quality looks. And I think that's what people have been clamoring for, including myself. Is it sustainable for him to do that more than, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a game like Craig has done? I think so. But I think so much of that is mental because of the injuries that he has dealt with. He doesn't want to put himself into harm's way or to, initiate more contact than he is comfortable with. But I think that if he did that, right, if he just said, fuck it, I'm going to play freely. And I understand this is a lot easier said than done for a player that has racked up the number of missed games that he has. I think they would be in a much better position from a ball movement and dribble penetration standpoint. Not only does that free up cutting lanes for guys like Nae'Qwan Tomlin, who was just an absolute beast in terms of cutting out of the dunker spot and baseline, and it opens up perimeter spacing, right? Because you can collapse the defense a bit more. But I don't know. That remains to be seen on how frequently we'll actually get that moving forward from Lonzo. But I thought tonight was a much better game than his last outing, and that's probably not saying much. But the stat line speaks for itself. Yes, just 2 points. If you're looking for Lonzo to score a ton of points, you're probably missing the point of why he was brought here. 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. One of them was absolutely beautiful, which led to a really awesome sequence where Donovan Mitchell, I believe, scored the basketball. I feel like I've talked about a lot of different Cavaliers tonight. I included, I gotta reference Nae'Qwan, right? Because he drew the start tonight at the 3, and he was really good. And I think that him being pulled for Dean Wade in the third half, or third quarter rather, I think that was mostly to kind of switch things up. And I think that was the right call by Kenny Atkinson, mind you. But I liked what I saw from Nae'Qwan, who actually drilled a triple tonight. And you started to see that more and more from Tomlin as of late. Still not efficient, but I think that he is starting to show you just how valuable he can be and the type of skill set that he brings to the table. I wrote about this recently as well. I'm trying to pump more content out on my Patreon, guys. It is free to read these articles, right? It's not behind a paywall. The article within itself is a deep dive into why I believe he is a full-time rotation piece. And in writing that, because when I write these articles, the one thing that I like about doing it is that it forces me to do a lot of research. And you guys already know I'm a stats guy for one, but one thing that really has stood out to me is this guy's ability to cut to the basket and get dump offs, right? He's somebody that Donovan Mitchell or Craig Porter Jr. or Lonzo Ball or Evan Mobley even can get the ball to him. And entering tonight, Nae'Qwan Tomlin was in the 93rd and 94th percentiles, respectively, in cuts, in dump ball frequency percentage, and putback frequency percentage at 27.66% per B-ball index. What does that mean? It means that the bulk of his plays that he is involved in have involved a cut, a dump off, or him putting a shot back, which is pretty much highlights exactly what he does, right? If you watch him play, and I know he's still quite raw offensively, the outline is there of what he could potentially turn into. An elite play finisher, somebody who is elite at finishing plays around the rim. And his efficiency to begin the season has actually shown that. He entered tonight scoring on 78% of his rim field goals, which is in the 91st percentile among wings, according to Cleaning the Glass. He's somebody that you don't have to worry about finishing through contact out there. He's somebody that you don't have to worry about putting a shot up, because that's exactly what he will do. And believe it or not, Nae'Qwan Tomlin is averaging the 3rd most points per possession on putbacks at 1.64 per game, which is also in the 93rd percentile. It's just crazy. And I think that his 25, entering tonight at least, his 25 total second chance points are the 10th most in the NBA among players who have played fewer than 250 total minutes. So I say all this to say, I see the vision with Nae'Qwan Tomlin. I've always seen it. I'm somebody, and I will let you know that, but I will tell you, I think that this guy is somebody that will be a bona fide contributor in any rotation around the league. Not somebody, I won't go so far as to say that on a championship contending team, on all championship contending teams, that Nae'Qwan Tomlin would be a part of the rotation, because it's hard to say that. But I think that Nae'Qwan has done enough to warrant an opportunity. Even when Max Strus comes back, even when you get Jarrett Allen back, I think that Nae'Qwan has done enough. He has done enough to earn, at the very least, an opportunity. I love it. And I think entering this season, you guys know me, I put a video out on this, like, I don't know, what is it? It's December. I think I put an article out about this 6 months ago, right in the midst of summer league, or right after summer league. I said Nae'Qwan Tomlin should replace Dean Wade in the rotation. It's no slight to Dean Wade right now, because Dean had a wonderful game and we can't predict everything accurately. But what I can say is that Dean is on an expiring contract. You know what I'm about to say. Life after Dean Wade looks a little better because you have Nae'Qwan Tomlin. If you want to move on from Dean, and I'm not by any means saying just based upon what we've seen right now, because it's just the first quarter of the season, that they should, but you can and probably feel good about it because you have a younger, cheaper, and more hungry option in Tomlin. So I think that that's pretty cut and dry to me. I think you let Dean Wade play out the entirety of his contract, because frankly, I don't think you're going to get a good value on return for what Dean brings to the table. Because don't get me wrong, I still think Dean holds value. I still think that Dean Wade still holds value, especially as a perimeter defender. And when he's confident, he can knock down shots and he'll attempt it and he'll pull them. But I think that as of right now, I do feel comfortable if the Cavaliers decided to move on from Dean. Rather than trading him, I feel a lot more comfortable about letting him play out this season and walking than I would, moving him. I think that the right direction for the Cavaliers team would be to let Dean walk and convert Nae'Qwan Tomlin and allow him to kind of move into that role. But we're a long way from getting to that point. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm just saying that having a player like Nae'Qwan Tomlin kind of gives you a lot of these options that open up. And the same honestly can be said about Jaylen Tyson and Max Strus. And it's a little different because Max is a lot more versatile, in my opinion, than Dean Wade, and losing him would actually sting more, in my opinion. But to me, I think that Tyson playing the way that he has even gives you a little bit more wiggle room in terms of what you want to do with Strus later on down the line. Because obviously, with the second apron being what it is, and the CBA being what it is, keeping cheap players, cheap young talent along the margins, I think that this is only a good thing. Developing young, cheap talent is very important to stay competitive consistently in the new NBA. And I think that Tyson turning into what he has, Tomlin appearing to turn into what he has, Craig Porter Jr. looking like he is more and more ready for backup point guard duties, that's big. And you still have players along the margins who the jury is still out on, like Luke Travers, who, again, I mentioned had a couple of nice sequences tonight. Who knows what's going to end up happening with the likes of Chris Livingston, right, who has just joined the team, played 2 minutes, 26 seconds tonight. But I think that tonight, you look at the entirety of what you've gotten from this young talent, and it just really makes you feel good. And we didn't even get to see Tyrese Proctor, who was out for personal reasons, and that should be a big piece of the Cavaliers' future as well. So I'm I'm a pretty big believer in the young talent, if you couldn't tell. But that was pretty awesome. Even Thomas Bryant, who is somebody that in that last game against Portland brought injury, he did that again tonight. 8 points, 3 rebounds for him, 2 of 4 from the field in his 15 minutes and 42 seconds of action. And I think that anytime Thomas Bryant enters the game, it's kind of like instant energy, instant impact that you get from him. If nothing else, he's bringing you a lot of fucking energy out there. He's going to get the fans hyped up. He's good for vibes, man. I'm telling you. Thomas Bryant is good for vibes. And I think that he is not like a Tristan Thompson level big. No disrespect to Tristan, but after the after the PED suspension, he was never quite the same, obviously, for obvious reasons. But Thomas can still play. He can be an impact on the court from both a standpoint of being able to actually impact the game, and he is somebody that can impact the game in terms of energy out there and effort and vibes. So, which is what you'd like to see out of your, what would you consider Thomas Bryant? Your 14th, 15th man? Who knows? I say all that to say this was a fun game, fun performance. I think that it's time to now hop into the chat before I get too far ahead of myself. Floyd Phillips second says, look what happens when you stop shooting threes so much. Yeah, I mean, what I say, 26 attempts tonight from 3-point distance, 80 points in the paint. Absolutely fucking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. This is not always going to be a blueprint. Taking that few of 3-point attempts is not always going to be the blueprint, but you want to find that sweet spot. 50 is too much. 40 feels like too much at times. If you can stay between 35 and I don't know, 39, 40, that's probably good most nights. But 26, and don't get me wrong, they did not shoot efficiently tonight. 30.8% from 3-point distance. But what did they do? They antagonized the interior of their opponent's defense, and they scored 80 points in the paint tonight. They got down and they put pressure on the rim with dribble penetration. And so, yeah, good things happen when you don't over-rely on the three. I think the key is finding that sweet spot. 50 is obviously too much. 26 is probably too low against a lot of opponents who can outscore you. But tonight, it worked, and that's great. HJ 17 Gaming says, Jaylen Tyson at the 2 has been amazing this season. Yeah, I have really liked the lineups that we have seen when Jaylen Tyson, and I've really liked the production that Tyson has brought to the table when he is starting at the 2. I still believe ultimately I want him starting at the 3, but I cannot complain about when you start to the 2. From a positional standpoint, he's played 28% of his minutes at the 2. The Cavaliers are plus 6.1 in terms of point differential. They have an offensive rating of 123.7 when he plays at the 2, which is in the 86th percentile. And when he plays at the 3, which has been 64% of the time, they have a point differential of plus 3. So still positive. Offensive rating is still really high at 120, but clearly it's been better at the 2. But yeah, I'm still a big believer of Tyson at the 3 because of Darius Garland. D Jackson H1K says, Mac, I seen your video the other day about Tyson should start hard. Yes. I'm assuming you mean Kenny needs to start Jaylen Tyson. He's been cooking for the last few games. Yeah, Jaylen Tyson has been a breath of fresh air. He has easily been one of the best 3 developments from an individual standpoint that I have seen from this team this year. The others being Nae'Qwan Tomlin and Sam Merrill. I still cannot forget about Merrill because he began the season shooting fucking flame. I will not forget about him. But Tyson is probably the best thing that has occurred for the Cavaliers in a season that hasn't started the prettiest. Never Bloom says, needed that win so much. Absolutely continue to love Jaylen Tyson. Tyson's a fucking dog. He's good for vibes. He cares. He called out the team. They needed it. What's not to love? 3-and-D wing. 3-and-D wing of the future that we have been asking for. And strangely enough, we still have DeAndre Hunter on the roster. And that's no slight to him. But I think that you're starting to see that, hey, maybe both guys could be better if you kind of flip-flopped them. Let me get back in frame. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, to quote Michael Scott from The Office. Started from the bottom. Still here says Jaylen Tyson is him. Yep. HJ17 Gaming says hot take, but DG might have to come off the bench till that foot is healed up. Honestly, I think I would rather sit him and give Craig Porter Jr. those minutes than have him come off the bench. I'd just rather give him the time off. Hailstone says, let's go Tyson. Absolutely. Our Speller says, that's how you win more games. Drive to the paint more and slow down the triples. Yes, lower the volume. Again, find the sweet spot. Get more dribble penetration. Again, when you don't have Darius, that's hard because Darius is a big time. Listen, it's not just Donovan Mitchell who can get to the rim. Donovan is great at doing that. He's efficient at doing that. He has one of the beautiful, most beautiful attempts that we see, and one of the patented moves that he has out there, along with the Sham God in his arsenal. But Darius Garland was sixth in the entire NBA in total drives last season, and he was extremely efficient when putting up the shot. If you can get back to that, you get him back, that's great. But in the meantime, you have to get that and find that from others. Craig Porter Jr. can help you with that. DeAndre Hunter is supposed to be able to, and Evan Mobley has stepped up in that regard, but you have to do it consistently. We've seen them have these games where they're like, oh yeah, we'll antagonize on the interior. We'll get the ball to the bigs. We will dribble drive and beat them to a bloody pulp. But they revert at times to this over-reliance on the triples too. So we need to see it consistently. That's the key, consistency. Nicotine says, thank you. Finally stop settling and take the ball to the basket. 100%. 100%, my guy. Hokies says, they still a good team. Good win. Yeah. Cleveland Noop says, then paint points. Yeah, 80 paint points. Beautiful. Started from the bottom also says, Tomlin had a good game in only 17 minutes. M&J says, good game tonight. Soft Taco says, tears of joy right now. Chaz Erica says, my eyes, that team edition background. JK Mac, I know you love these colors. Yeah, I try and if you guys haven't noticed yet, and credit to Chaz Erica, and I feel like I'm perpetually mispronouncing that. And if I am, please let me know. But Chaz Erica says, what they're saying is accurate. If you haven't noticed, I have tried to keep it consistent with the jersey that they are wearing. So tonight, these actually match the colors of the city edition. And I've done the others with the Halloween and the navy, the throwback jerseys, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think thank you for noticing that. I appreciate that. Jay Killis says, I'm just scared this paint penetration was only because the Spurs were small today and missing their paint protector and Wemby. Hope they can keep it up. Hell, listen, I am not going to downplay it all because I think that I'm not just going to throw Bismack Biyombo to the wolves. And I understand he only played 10 minutes tonight, but they still had a little bit of size technically out there, but yeah, they did play small. They were forced to play small. And Wemby is such a big part of what they do in terms of interior defense. And he cleans up for so much. There was that clip circulating around earlier on where he's like defending all five people out there from an offensive standpoint. And I don't know how he does it. He's huge. He has a huge wingspan. He is tall as fuck, and he can get out to the perimeter and simultaneously make his way back into the interior and defend the post as well. But I think Wemby just covers up for so much. That I say all this to say that I don't really care if Wemby plays or not. I'm happy that they decided that that's what they're actually going to do, and that was their plan of attack. But I see your point. Jonah Quest says, Donovan dropped so many dimes. Good Lord. Yes, as I said, to anybody that thinks that Donovan can't function as a point guard, fuck you. That's not true. Listen, I think that Donovan is not a point guard. I think he's more two than anything. You can call him a combo guard, whatever you want. But clearly, he is capable of making the same feeds that most other point guards are. You just don't get it consistently. And I think a lot of that is just simply boiled down to Donovan getting tunnel vision at times, not seeing the floor the way that other point guards do, because that's just not who he is by nature. But he's capable. He can do it. Starting from bottom says, Hunter should be averaging 20 plus. Lena QT says, I guess 2 points do count. Great job. Yeah, I know you're referencing Lonzo just by the tone of this. If you watched the game, and I'm sure you did, so I'm not trying to call you out, but I will say that Lonzo's impact goes beyond scoring the basketball completely. The problem with Lonzo is that Lonzo, for some reason, in certain games, has had an unlimited green light. I don't get it. I know that they have needed offense from certain players and they've needed guys to step up due to who is not out there. And a lot of that sometimes does come down to guard play. But Lonzo has had some of the most egregious, just some of the most ugly shot selection at times. And that's what I think really draws the ire of the fans. But I still see the vision. As I said, I still think Lonzo is going to be a playoff riser. I still believe Lonzo, from a theoretical standpoint, as long as he can stay healthy, he can be a guy that you can depend on in your 8 or 9 man playoff rotation. And I will stand on that. I will stand by that. I love Craig Porter Jr. too. I love what he brings to the table. But at this point in time right now, I think that if you just look purely at what he brings to the table from a like overall standpoint, not just scoring, I think you will be impressed in games like this because it's not all about scoring points. And as long as Lonzo doesn't get 2-3 happy, as long as you can kind of like tone it down, talk to him like, Zoe, man, you got to think about when you're actually pulling the trigger here, because there are a couple of sequences out there. And I think he had one against Portland where they had started to make a push, and Evan Mobley was such a big key in that. And instead of continuing to spam that or get back to that, Lonzo pulls up, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Regardless, I still think that there's time for Zoe to bring those percentages up. He may have already done too much damage in terms of volume to like make them look great, but you got so much time between now and the playoffs. I think Zoe's going to be just fine. The one thing that I want above all else is just a healthy Lonzo Ball. I just want him to stay healthy. And the way that they're managing him, I think that he is going to. He looks like the healthiest that he's been in years, but we'll see if that keeps up. I'm hoping, I'm praying. And I'm believing that it will, but we'll see. Rap Guy Reloaded says Craig Porter Jr. is good. Yeah, this is a very versatile point guard. He's at 6'1". I'm going to plug that article again one more time that I wrote because there's a lot of good pieces of information in that. And in terms of what he has done this year, I think the most interesting stat that I was able to find for Craig Porter Jr. entering tonight's game, at least, is that he has the second most blocks for any player under 6'4" this year. He had 12 blocks entering tonight's game, if I'm not mistaken, in his appearances this year. But 13 total blocks this year. Second most in the NBA among players 6'4" and under. The leader in that category, if you were wondering, was actually Tyrese Maxey, which is like crazy. But at 6'1", because Maxey, if I'm not mistaken, is bigger than Craig. But Craig plays above his listed playing height. And they list Maxey at 6'2" on Basketball Reference. I know that anywhere you look can be a little bit different. They list Craig at 6'1" on the official team site. They list Craig at 6'2" on Cleaning the Glass and in other media outlets. But I think that what I'm trying to say to you all is that Craig has been a very versatile piece, and he is somebody that has added to that bench when he's actually been given time. Entering tonight's game, when this man had played at least 20 minutes of action, he has been very, very impactful. When he plays at least 20 minutes per game, he's averaging 8.1 points, 4.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.3 blocks, which is extremely versatile. And you combine that with the extreme efficiency, 58% from the field, including 52.6% from three-point distance on roughly 2.1 three-point attempts per game. So the volume is trending upward, which is what you want to see from Craig, along with the confidence to pull the trigger when he actually gets the ball. I think that Craig at times can get in his head. It happens. He's a human. We like to think of these NBA players as something more than human, but at their core, they're still human beings. Talk to any NBA player in depth, and you will quickly begin to see that. I've talked to a number of them, right? Had a very long sit down with Larry, two of them. I had a very long sit down with CJ Miles, talked to Kay Felder, talked to George, Niang, and a lot of different players. And once you actually talk to them, you understand that they are human. They experience emotions too, just like the rest of us. And I think that it's okay at times to understand that these guys will go through confidence lapses and woes. We don't want to see it happen frequently, but I think that that can happen with Craig, or at least it has in the past. Not so much this year. Craig is playing the most confident brand of basketball that we've probably ever seen from him, and the most free basketball that we have seen from him. And I think that when you give him the opportunities, Craig will reward you 9 times out of 10. And that is what we have gotten from CBJ this year. And had another game like that tonight where he is impactful, not only from a energy standpoint out there, but from a pure statistical standpoint, as his stat line will read 11 points, 7 rebounds at 6'1". It's crazy to me. 1 assist, 2 steals, and was a game high plus 20. Craig is that dude, man. Craig is one of those players. He's a fucking dog. He may not give you the amount of impact from a statistical standpoint that guys like Jaylen do, or that guys like Evan Mobley do, right? But I think it purely comes back to opportunities. When you get the minutes, CBJ is somebody that will reward you. When he doesn't get the minutes, it's not going to look as great. But I've been very impressed with what I've seen from one Craig Porter Jr. this year. Love it. Absolutely love Carlito. Dr. Claw, what's up? Says, I don't know if you're still here. He says, post-game with Serena was great for Tyson. Yeah, I hadn't got a chance to check that out. Honestly, I don't get a lot of opportunities to check the post-games out live in the moment because I'm here with you guys. But that being the case, I do go back and watch them, and they are a joy. One of the best parts of the games, especially after victories. Nicotine says, in Brian Windhorse said Tyson isn't really a starter. Clearly, he's not watching the games. I think this all boils down to your preference. Can you make the suggestion, or can you make the case that Jaylen Tyson should come off the bench? Absolutely, you can. And a lot of it boils down to who is in front of him at full strength. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett down at the very least. The conversation really boils down to DeAndre Hunter versus Jaylen Tyson. And for those of you out there that still believe that Max Strus should be involved in that conversation, I'll entertain it, but I think he is a distant third at this point. All of that said, I think it's clear. If you've been watching these games, Jaylen Tyson deserves to start, in my opinion. Should be at the 3. But we'll see what Kenny Atkinson cooks up when the team starts to get back to full strength. Rich Clee says Tyson is him. Dr. Claus says Lonzo not chucking threes. Hallelujah. Yeah. Listen, I just went through this. Lonzo, when he's not chucking threes, when he's not trying to get his shot going, when he has better shot selection and understanding. And listen, Lonzo's a high IQ ball player. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know more basketball than Lonzo Ball. That would be fucking crazy. What I will say to you is that there are times throughout games, and he's done it a lot more recently, where Lonzo pulls the trigger and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? He didn't do that tonight. You love to see it. His impact becomes a lot more clear when he's not doing that. Obviously, other guys have to be knocking down shots off of Lonzo feeds too, but I think not shot chucking definitely helps. Rich Clee says Strus got to come off the bench. Never Bloom says Lonzo drove to the rim once too. Actually had a couple, but the one that he did and made the layup, that's where his 2 points came from, that was huge. It made me feel good because, again, what I say, he had driven the ball, was 35 total times entering tonight, I think. I think that was the number that I provided you guys with, and that was prior to tonight's game. 35 drives and 401 total minutes. Just 7 field goal attempts prior to tonight off of drives, and he hit a lowly 28.7%. 28.6% of those when attempting a field goal off of drive. So good to see him drive tonight. Corey Duns says, missing Sam also limits defensive spacing. We need his gravity to open up shots. I agree to that. People completely undersell Sam's value in not having the impact of not having him out there has had on this offense. He also says, that said, DeAndre seems to disappear when he plays bad. Seems kind of pouty. I'm glad I'm not the only person that's noticed that. That's a real habit, and that goes back to the conversation that I've been having with you all this entire season, and that is work on the habits. Even though, like, the wins and losses, they will happen, and you want that to obviously be a win and not a loss. But if you're going to lose a game, you at least want the habits to look good, right? You don't want to lean or get back into old, familiar bad habits. And I think that being pouty out there because you're not getting opportunities or when your shot's not falling, that obviously falls in the line or the category of bad habits. And I think that DeAndre has been guilty of that at times. But I think that he rounded things out nicely in the second half. That first half was a doozy, bad in my opinion. But I think that as the season wears on, things should really smooth back over. D Jackson says, Mac, you need to get an invite to join the Ultimate Cleveland show with Adam the Bull and the guys. You guys know that Mikey McNuggets, that's my guy. I've had him on numerous times. I've been on Ultimate Cleveland or Ultimate Cavaliers numerous times over on that channel. I would always appreciate the invite. Maybe it'll come one day, but I appreciate the work that those guys put in, especially Mikey. Jazz Erica says Porter Jr. is a good development story for the Cavs. Absolutely. Downey Spencer says Hunter is a sixth man. He's a shooter who can get hot fast. I think that at his best, he is a player that tends to operate with the ball in his hands. He's always tended to function better that way. Yes, he can function as a catch and shooter. We have a good amount of film to suggest from last year that he can do that and do that efficiently. But I think that he's a player that has always thrived more with the ball in his hands as an on-ball creator. So remains to be seen how Kenny is going to approach this very delicate situation, mind you, because this is a player that has already told you, hey, I want to be a starter. There's no problem with that. There's no issue at my end with a player wanting to be a starter. In fact, you should want to be a starter. You should want to be in that starting unit. But I don't think there's anything wrong with telling a player, hey, this is the best role for you right now. This is where we think we can get the most benefit and make the best use of your skills at. I think for DeAndre, I'm quickly approaching that territory where I think that he should be coming off the bench as that kind of spark plug, and you get more free reign there, more touches, and you can really operate like Ty Jerome did it last season to provide the Cavaliers a spark. So for DeAndre, I think that is the role that he's best suited for, but I'm not the head coach. Kenny has to make that decision. I don't know, guys. That's probably a good stopping point for tonight. We've already been on for an hour. I truly appreciate you all. If you're still here by now, do your boy a favor, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to the It's Cavalier podcast. Subscribe to Positive Hooper, my second channel as well. I tend to try and cover the NBA at large over there. I'm trying to start that channel up a little bit more. If you want to support this show in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so on YouTube as well for as little as $1 a month. But even if you don't, your boy will still be here because I love this team. And I know you guys do too. Go Cavs.